four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Gilles down the inside. Gilles moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been moved and a terrific show off.
Ben Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to round 4 of Season 2 of the Chaz Draycott Media Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. We're here at the wonderful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the 4th round of the campaign, and we've had 3 amazing races up to this point that have really shown us what everyone in this series is capable of. I'm your host, Chaz Draycott, with the wonderful Ed May alongside me in the commentary box. Ed, again, we come into another race meeting saying last time was good, this one's going to be good as well, because it really is.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, you come off the back of an excellent round of racing at the Spanish Grand Prix, and I think it's fair to say Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix, is almost certainly going to be living up to the hype as it has done across the seasons past and across races past. No matter what people tend to rock up in this to this track it's always a real treat. The drivers do need to keep their work out for them though, because it is very unforgiving, and I was talking to you earlier, I expect a few drivers might just push the limits a little bit too much and find themselves maybe with damage and having to make those early pit stops. But the good thing about this series is the fast repair, and the fact that you can do your one pit stop early as long as you've had damage before, I think, is it lap 10 is where we tend to have the cutoff.
Yeah, lap 10 is the earliest that they can pit in the championship, but as Ed rightly says there, if you do get damage before that, you can take it before then. Here's a look at the championship standings at present, and it's Cam Dance 1 point ahead of Jake Cranstone at the moment on 41 and 40 points each. Then Pete Harrod is third for Jordan on 28 points, and then would you look at that, Hoffman, Zemstra, Craig Vrolick, all separated by 1 point. Murphy, Styles, Minot, Fitzpatrick, Perry, Chalcraft, all separated by just 3 points. Then you've got Stuart Clark in 13th place in the standings ahead of Nico Minardi on 4 points, and Toby Ward, the last point scorer at the moment. Looking at the team's championship standings, it is McLaren Mercedes at the very top of the pile right now. They're doing a wonderful job on 58 points, but only 6 ahead of Williams Mechachrome. Not a great round for McLaren last time out. Jordan Mugen Honda in third, just ahead of Ferrari. Ferrari jumped up from 7th to 4th thanks to that last race, because Tim Perry's amazing performance really helped them out, to be honest. And it's exactly what they're going to hope to sort of recreate tonight, isn't it, Ed? A really strong performance by the Ferrari drivers, and Tim Perry, who's doing a good job in practice at the moment, up there in third place.
Yeah, well, obviously, this is... I mean, we are just talking about practice at the end of the day. It's all about putting that right up there when you get down to the qualifying session, where the drivers do maybe push a little bit harder as well. It can come down to slipstream as well. We have seen the one-shot qualifying come through and shake up the order from practice into the session proper.
Have you
so
seen
far,
the times, by the way?
Very good for Tim Perry. Oh my word, yeah, it is equal, isn't it, between Harrod and Cranston? Oh, giddy on.
Yeah.
To the 1000th.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable between the top two at the moment. There's a scary moment for Tim Perry, as I think that's Ben Chalcraft actually parked at the side of the road in the Jordan. It is. Still, as Craig Vrolick has just improved on his best time and gone up to 9th. That's all he can manage at this moment in time. We've got 20 cars in the session. We're just waiting for the 21st of them, which is going to be Cam Dance, as it often is. Oh, there's a car off at the side of the road there, which is Stuart Clark. But wonderful scenes here as there you go. Tim Perry, well, it's going well for him now. 76 thousandths of a second clear in the Ferrari. Now, we know that he's fast. That's why he's in a Ferrari for this season. But he's doing a great job. Nico Minardi, who's just come back out on circuit there, he's currently 4th in this session. Toby Ward actually messaged the Discord earlier and at everyone and basically said, can you guys speed up, please? I'm not supposed to be 9th. And I think some of them have got the answer, or at least responded to it, because he's now down in 12th, but still not bad for the driver from Stuart Ford. There's still 3 teams yet to score points here, though. That's Prost Peugeot, Minardi Ford, and Tyrrell Ford at the moment. So I'm reckoning that we could maybe get some points finishes from those guys here today. What do you reckon, Ed? Oh.
Yeah, I think as we've been slightly distracted there by the arrows having a bit of a moment through the second corner. I think you could see some of these drivers bagging points, especially if they manage to keep it clean, like you say, and all those around them fall foul of a little incident here or there. A touch with the wall can turn a race up on its head. And one thing to think about as well is how cautious some of these drivers might have to be during the opening 3 laps when the tyres are certainly not at their best and everyone's so close together. You can imagine the first trip towards, well, turn 3 and 4, that chicane at the sort of end of the first sector is going to be one that I think will catch a few of the drivers out if they're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. And as you go through 5 and 6 as well into the very tight left turn 7 that we were just going through a moment ago in Martin Kenyon, you've got to really have your wits about you, because it goes over a sort of slight crest and the car can break free from you. But I think a lot of people forget how narrow this track is, you know, and how sort of close all the walls are. It really is a street circuit here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. And the drivers have to remember that time and time again. It's very easy to sort of disrespect this place and push a bit too hard. But right now, the times are nice and close. 7/10 of a second between the top 12. And then only another 1.1 seconds from 12th back to 20th. Rob Lundgren is in the Minardi at the bottom of the pile at the moment. His teammate John Roberts down there with him. Good to see John Tusting back as well. John was missing the first couple of rounds due to a shoulder injury and waiting for surgery on it, and he's still pushing on here in the championship. And to be honest, it might be a nice bit of sort of rehabilitation for his shoulder as well after said surgery to throw it around the circuit a bit. We are going to get our 21st car in the session soon, which is going to be Cam Dance. But he can be happy knowing that him and his teammate, who we see here, Sam Fitzpatrick, are currently right up there in the team's championship in second place.
Yeah, but obviously it is still early days. We can't properly pin a favourite on either teams or the Drivers' Championship. It is wide open for the taking, and well, we have seen some very good performances from the likes of Cam Dance to make history last time out at the Spanish Grand Prix, being the only driver to hit double digits in terms of race victories. Also, still the only driver to have won more than one race. But it's fair to say that there could be a few drivers out here that will look to add another race victory to their tally or to open out their account. It's all looking fairly close out there out in front, like you've been mentioning, based on the practice times at least.
Yeah, definitely. We've only got about 15 seconds left of practice now anyway before it is all done. This is Kevin Zemstra, currently 6th fastest in practice, his teammate at the very top for now. And very shortly we're going to get going into qualifying. Cam Dance has literally just joined the session right now, which just shows you how late he likes to leave it. But we've got a wonderful pit lane here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the drivers to wait in, and I love the start-finish straight here. It feels so enclosed when you're going down it, and it's a real sense of occasion at this circuit, as now it goes quiet for a moment and we will get the first couple of cars out. So for anyone that's not seen this kind of qualifying session before, cars will go out 2 at a time with about 10 to 15 seconds between them, and then once both of them go past and start their flying laps, 2 more cars will follow on about 15 to 30 seconds behind them, so there's a decent bit of spacing, and then the process repeats. The 2, once they've finished their flying laps, will then do an in-lap each, and then of course go into the pit lane, and then the next set will go out, and so on. So the first cars to make their way out of the pit lane will be shimmying any moment now. We do have a reverse championship order for these cars. It's going to be Gilles Gardner who's crawling his way down the pit lane. And based on the championship standings, it's going to be Gilles Gardner and then John Tusting. So John for Prost Peugeot makes his way out about 10 seconds behind. But Gilles Gardner is going to be the one that's the guinea pig at the moment here, Ed, to really go into this session and test the track surface for everybody and see what he can find out on the way. He's the sort of the research antenna probing forward.
Yeah, and it's not the position I'd want to be in, the first out on circuit, because obviously there's not the same amount of rubber that's been laid down. The track's fairly green, and also you can see just visually there's none of that qualifying cloud that the drivers like to talk about and use for their excuses of, oh, I didn't have the quality cloud, it wasn't cooler on my lap, I lost me a couple of tenths here and there. The drivers do like to find any excuse they can to explain why they might not be qualifying as well as they're hoping. But we're seeing from Gilles Gardner, so tentative on the throttle coming out of that very tight hairpin. So important to get right because of the long straight that you're then catapulting yourself down. Speaking of catapulting, you're going to have absolutely launch yourself at the final chicane and essentially drive at the wall of champions, but not into. And that's, I think, where a lot of the lap time can be gained and lost.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget, Gilles Gardner is one of the partners of the championship as well. He's providing a lot of the Simtography here for the series, which we're very grateful for. And he's also been providing posters for each of the rounds of the championship as well with his wonderful graphic design skills. And it's also going to be his home Grand Prix, this one, or his home Boremula Prix, I should say. He is Canadian, and he's going to be hoping for a very strong night of it. John Tusting's just about to cross the line and start his lap as well. Next 2 cars that will start to make their way out of the pit lane will be Simon Price and then John Roberts. I'm afraid to say that Sam Bentham for Benetton will not be joining us for the season, so there may be a replacement for Sam by the time we get to the next round at Benetton. We need to go through the reserve list and see who's next up, and then get them, of course, lined up with the sort of pace that we need, just to see if there's any... You know, he's going to be in a Benetton, so it's probably going to be someone that's quick. We might have to start choosing based on that, but we'll have to see. Gilles Gardner, of course, does a purple sector at the beginning, because he's the first car to do a valid sector around there. It's going to be purple in sector 2 as well, but we'll see whether John Tusting is going to beat him. That's the thing. We've got this instant comparison between the two. That's one of the other benefits of having 2 cars go out at one time. Comes out of the hairpin, then nice and tentative on the throttle, like we said. Up through the gears now. These wonderful little Star Mazdas flying down here. Now, last season on the high downforce setup, Ed, they were topping out at 134 mile an hour. We get a bit more out of them now, don't we?
Just a little bit more, obviously, on the medium downforce setup. Look at this, chucking it into the final chicane.
I
Careful on the curbs to obviously not unsettle the rhythm. And up to the line. What can the Canadian do? Like you say, his home circuit will be obviously onto provisional pole position. John Tusting is the man to try and best that. The first benchmark, though, has been set, and it's a decent effort from Gilles. John Tusting, as he comes over the line, breaking the beam and getting to the end of his lap, finishes 7/10 shy of the lap time of Gardner. And then we have Gilles Gardner's teammate now to watch, see what he can do. Simon Price.
Yep, Simon Price not scored any points yet. None of the Tyrrells, none of the Minardis, none of the Prosts have. But each one of them will be itching to be the driver to get those initial points. It's very close through here to the wall. You really have to commit. Nice stuff by Simon Price. Doesn't get all four wheels off over the white line. That's the thing with these cars. They're that small that you can do. He's done a purple sector 1 though, so it's going well at this moment in time. It's Gardner from Tusting after the first 2 laps are complete. John Roberts is also on a lap in the Minardi Ford. Here he is. What's his first sector like? It's green, but it's not purple. He does a 26.41. It's a 26.21 in the first sector for Simon Price. So he's got a couple of tenths there, Ed. And this is looking nice into the second chicane. Again, careful of the curbs, hesitant on the throttle. This is the thing, though. The drivers don't go completely gung-ho in these sessions, do they? They take their time and make sure that at least they get a valid time on the board. A banker lap, if you will.
Yeah, and that's sadly all they can do because the tyres are not fully up to temperature. They can't afford to properly chuck it because the risk of losing it is that much greater when you haven't got the traction beneath you to properly push. So that's one where I think we'll see the drivers being very conservative on these laps, more so than we would see in practice. Then we do also oftentimes see drivers attacking a lot harder than I think we expect, just because of the nature that they only have one shot. So why not just give it everything?
Here comes Simon Price to the line then. Another green sector, not a purple one, but he goes fastest by 86 thousandths of a second, so just gets the job done there as he crosses the line. Here comes John Roberts. No purple sectors from him except for the last one. That could be good enough, though, with the difference, and it is 76 thousandths of a second. It was the difference between first and second in practice, and at the moment it's the difference between first and second in qualifying. Very well done by John Roberts. Goes ahead of the 2 Tyrrells and the Prost. And here comes his teammate Rob Lundgren, who is next up in the Nigel Mansell liveried helmet. Car number 9. It's not quite red number 5, but Rob is a real stalwart of the leagues and championships that I've run. He's been racing in them for a long, long time. The other driver that's just joined him and starting a lap is Martin Kenyon in the Prost Peugeot. So what we have at the beginning is the 3 teams that have not yet scored points, just in the championship order that the spreadsheet basically dictates. I don't really tend to move them around based on best results or anything like that. It just puts them in an order. And there's no purple sector at the beginning of the lap from Rob Lundgren. He does not best his teammate through there. Can Martin Kenyon do anything about it? No, his is just green as well, so no improvement there.
It's come up for me purple on the live timing software itself.
Interesting.
Looking at it on SDK. So Martin Kenyon is going quickly at the moment, and actually considerably quicker than Rob Lundgren at this moment in time, about 7/10 of a second. So Martin Kenyon really going strongly through the first sector. Second sector is a little bit shy of the mark. We'll see, though.
Oh dear.
All of a sudden it changes around again. Now Martin Kenyon has gone quicker, so it is changing around a lot on our live timing software. Not sure what's going on there, but what we can see is Martin Kenyon pushing very hard behind Rob Lundgren. Where will Rob slot himself is the first question that we will be answered, though, as he comes now all the way down the casino straight in through the final chicane.
Oh, excuse me. Unlucky camera change there, I'd say. Here he comes. And I think he might have invalidated it or something, because for some reason it's only just started counting up from 22 seconds. It seemed a bit strange. We'll see where it puts him. If it is valid, and it does, it's 2.1 seconds off. I think he made a mistake into the hairpin, did Rob Lundgren, and he lost time. Surely that's pole for Kenyon. How much is he going to do it by is the question. Wow, 6/10 by Martin Kenyon. Great stuff. Nearly 6.5 tenths of a second. Beautiful lap time that is by Martin. Very, very well done indeed. He's going to be really pleased with that one. A 1:34.9. The first driver to go into the 1:34s in qualifying. And here comes the first man trying to beat him. Toby Ward was going well in practice earlier on, Ed. Can he turn that into a good qualifying lap?
I don't know. That was a very good qualifying lap by Martin Kenyon. So we'll be able to see where he stacks up compared to the Prost Peugeot driver as we go on board the Stewart through turns 3 and 4. So delicately balanced. The car is very eager to break away from you, especially on the medium downforce setup in comparison to last season on the high. Then we come to Nico Minardi, sadly not in the Minardi, but rather in the Sauber Petronas. A lovely shot of it just coming through turn 4. And he has done a purple first sector, so things are looking good at the moment for Nico.
He's just had a torrid amount of luck this season, hasn't he, to be fair? A torrid amount of bad luck, I should say. He invalidated 2 of his laps in the first 2 races of the season. He was the only driver to do so. And then after qualifying pretty well at Catalunya, he was involved in an incident at the start between himself and Silas Kragvrolic, one of the favourites for the championship as well, which also affected Martin Kenyon. Nico's done another purple sector as well. We know that Nico's a bit out of place in this qualifying session. We do get drivers like that over the course of the season. But here comes Toby Ward then, down the Casino Straight, in towards a chicane. I think that Stewart looks fantastic from the front. I really do love it, with the HSBC logo and the little strips of tartan on it. Toby's nice and flat through there. You'll see the driver's not really attacking the curbs. He doesn't keep it all the way over to the right, though, which is what some of them will do if they're trying to go just that extra 1,000th quicker. No purple sectors from Toby. Where does that put him? 9 and a bit tenths off. They're in 5th place for the moment. But surely we're about to see a new pole time from Nico Minardi. He's got a 1:34.939 to beat. I think it's in the 1:34.8s, that one. And it's a 1:34.759 for Nico Minardi for Sauber Petronas. And he just about gets ahead of Martin Kenyon. Very well done indeed. Although I'm afraid, Ed, there's been a bit of a miscommunication here, because the next 2 cars have only just left the pit lane at this moment in time. So Stuart Clark and Ben Chalcraft have only just started their outlaps right now, so we're going to have to wait a little bit of time for them to complete said laps. But what a great lap that is by Nico Minardi. He'll be over the moon with that one. Finally some luck going his way for now.
Yeah, for now. He did also qualify all right at the Spanish Grand Prix, but then got involved in an incident which saw him, I think, retire from the race at the end, wasn't it, unfortunately. So it is a shame, but like you say, it's sometimes you can succeed really well in qualifying. Other times, I found out a lot, to be honest, is the one shot. It is exactly that. If you make a mistake, there's no chances of coming back, so you will be stuck from the back. But in this case, for Nico, who will be at least up into the top half, you would imagine, with a lap time like that.
Yeah, definitely. You'd certainly hope so. Stuart Clark is going to be the next car to start a lap. He's going to be the number 23 Arrows Yamaha. We've also then got Ben Chalcraft as well in the Jordan Mugen Honda. He's warming his tyres right now and making sure that he's at least got some decent temperature in them. Now gets up to speed again. But here comes Stuart Clark then to start his lap in the Arrows Yamaha, the gorgeous black and white machine. The season before was one of the prettiest F1 cars I've ever seen, the Arrows A18. The gorgeous white and blue machine. Basically the exact same livery, but it was white and blue, and then this following year they just painted the car black with white logos on it. Certainly looked the part though. Stuart Clark really got a lot of grip into turn 2 there. It looked fantastic the way that it changed direction. It was a lovely flick one way then the other. And we saw him qualify very well at the Spanish Grand Prix, so we're expecting big things from him here. He did say that he loved the circuit though and really got on with it there, so let's see what he can do. Hello everybody in the YouTube chat. Hope you're enjoying yourselves so far. Great to see Crimson in there as well. Jakub Szymanski, Jason, Rob Lundgren in there as well, saying he locked up into the hairpin, and many angry words were shouted as Chalcraft's overdone it already at turn 1. Ben Chalcraft in the Jordan has overdone it instantly and thrown his lap away, Ed. That's nightmarish.
Deary me, all that work warming the tyres, and it just comes to naught, unfortunately. But Stuart Clark, he's currently on a lap time that looks to be valid. Not necessarily quick in the first sector. Second sector is looking all right, but again, needs to really get a push on if he's to crack into those provisionally top 2 spots, because the laps by Minardi and Kenyon were very quick indeed. Might be able to find himself slotting just ahead of John Roberts. There's a nice little sort of gap, isn't there, between second and third?
Yeah.
That you'll imagine Chalcraft will be aiming to slot himself in between. Lovely run through that final chicane. Just enough over the curbs to obviously take the speed through, but not to unsettle the car. Breaks the timing beam, comes across the line. Where does he go? 4th place.
He just had to prove you that little bit wrong, didn't he, Ed? Just slots in behind John Roberts. And to be fair, good stuff by John Roberts in the Minardi, ahead of the Arrows at the moment. Like I said before, they haven't scored any points. Kenyon saying that the track is really slippery, and it absolutely is, my friend. It's a real nightmare, this place. Very, very tough. Here comes Ben Chalcraft. He's going to complete his lap, and fair play to him. You may as well use the lap and at least get it in as a bit more practice, see whether you can push the limits a little bit extra. But unfortunately for him, it's not only going to be slower, it's not going to be a valid lap time due to going off the circuit. Next up then, well, we've got some of the tough nuts to crack now. Sam Fitzpatrick is next up in the Williams, really lengthening the run down towards turn 1. He's effectively running as Heinz-Harald Frentzen this season, who came under fire as well. Actually, no, he didn't come under fire. Michael Schumacher came under fire at the Canadian Grand Prix in 1998 for exiting the pit lane and then going all the way over to the right and basically forcing Frentzen off the road into the barriers and out of the race. It was a very dodgy move by Michael Schumacher. He liked to push the limits like that, and that single move is why the pit exit is now where it is on this circuit. Sam Fitzpatrick pushing very hard though. The car a little bit squirrely under brakes as he goes one way then the other. The other car on a lap right now is Tim Perry as well in the Ferrari, who's just gone even quicker. So great trading of sectors by these two right now, Ed. I think as long as they keep it clean, we are on for a definite change of pole position, maybe even a brand new front row.
We certainly could be treated to just that at the moment. Sam Fitzpatrick is the car furthest ahead, so we see the sector come through from Sam first, and then see what Tim Perry can do to try and best it. But like you say, that's probably the battle for provisional pole position out on the track now, and it is currently a purple sector yet again for Tim Perry. He is really turning the wick up here.
And we commentated on Tim last night having an amazing drive in the Sim Racing Magazine events, Road America 400 kilometres. No spoilers, but honestly, Tim was an absolute superstar of that event, so he's really showing us his credentials now. It's great to watch. Sam Fitzpatrick into the chicane, looked a bit hesitant on the way in. I think he might have turned in a little bit early, but he manages to narrow out. Look, there's what we were expecting, all the way over to the right-hand side on the end of the lap and all the way over to the left at the start of it. Purple final sector from Sam, and he goes just about a quarter of a second quicker. Great stuff for the Williams Mechachrome driver. What about Tim Perry in the Ferrari? It's another purple sector, and Tim Perry goes 1 800ths. No, I was going to say that. Nearly 2 tenths quicker. Well, we'll go for that, shall we?
There we go. That was really nice there by Tim Perry. A lovely lap just to get it nailed down. But yeah, like you say, purple sectors across the board. That's going to take some besting at the moment. Sam Fitzpatrick as well, like you predicted, making it a all-new front row. But here we go with Tom Minot and Jack Styles, the next pair out on track.
Minot really wrangling this thing through the first sector as well. It's great to see this all-black car with the full black lid as well. It's really stealth-like. It reminds me of Pedro Diniz's car back then, because when Pedro ran in the car, he ran a really dark blue helmet, and on most TV cameras it looked almost completely black. It was that dark. And this looks really, really cool from Tom Minot. In the opposite side of things, we've got Jack Styles in a completely white car with a completely white lid as well. He's certainly pushing on now. Jack, one of the real stars of this championship that helps choreograph these qualifying sessions, and a massive thanks goes out to him. He was doing us a couple of lap guides as well last season as well. Oh no, he's got excited that he's on the broadcast. Clips the grass a little bit. I think he's going to get away with that. Here comes Minot into the hairpin. Let's see what his run's like, Ed. Very tidy. There's a bit of a balance there, isn't there, between keeping a tighter line on the exit and keeping it smooth and getting it running out really wide and carrying a lot of momentum. You've got to be brave for the latter, but drivers make both work.
Yeah, I really want to see, though, what some of the drivers do if they dare attack the curbs, because there's a lot of lap time to be found if you can get it right and not find yourself
He'll do it.
making a little error. Look at this, chucking it, isn't he, over the curves. That was a very nice final sector by Tom Minot.
You can guarantee he'll be the one to push it.
Oh, 100%. Let's see where that puts him. Only 5th fastest,
Wow.
which is a testament to the lap times done earlier by Minardi and Kenyon, that they're still up there.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Martin Kenyon 4th at the moment, Nico Minardi 3rd. It's Perry and Fitzpatrick on the front row. Can Jack Styles get near his rival and friend in 2nd place? He goes 4th, so he splits Minardi and Kenyon, puts himself provisionally on the 2nd row of the grid. And it's very, very close still throughout them. And we need to have a look now at who's going to be next around, because after Minot and Styles, we're going to get Mike Murphy in the Sauber Petronas, teammate of Nico Minardi. He crosses the line to start his lap now. Mike's been another driver that's been great to watch this season, a little bit hot into turn 1, but he got a debut in his first round of the championship as well. One of the guys that's come over from Circuit Superstars to support my projects and this series. And we are very grateful to them. And would you believe this? I wouldn't say this early on in the session. I mean, it's just a bit earlier than we expected. Championship favourite Silas Kragvrolic is next up on track as well.
Yeah, podium on the debut is certainly nothing to sneeze at. A very good effort by Mike Murphy, who's, I think, fallen on a hard time since then, but still one to watch out for across the rest of the season as how he develops and really beds in with this car. Now that obviously a lot of the drivers that are new to this series probably haven't driven much before. Look at that, just grazing against the wall, and you have to wonder, is that a 0x? Because in qualifying, 0x's, even though they don't really affect you in terms of gaining or losing anything, they can count and invalidate a lap time.
They can, and Silas Kragvrolic does it as well. He gets really close, and he's actually done a purple sector too. I'm intrigued to see whether either of these laps count, you know. After this, we're going to have Kevin Zemstra and then Ben Hoffman. Ben's fourth in the championship at the moment for Benetton. He's doing a really, really strong job. And like I say, he was only 1 point ahead of Zemstra. It's so close in the standings. Here he goes then, Mike Murphy. Tidy over the first curb, and then just about touches the second one. Keeps it nice and smooth over to the right. We've got purple sectors from both. Are either of them going to beat Tim Perry in that Ferrari? It'd be quite the upset if they do, because Tim's been right on the pace all night. And look at that, third fastest for Mike Murphy. What about Silas Kragvrolic? Surely with him at his very best, he could beat him. Oh, he goes second fastest, 0.13 of a second. And Tim Perry for Ferrari holds on to that initial pole position. Very, very well done indeed by Tim Perry. A great lap. Kragvrolic second. Murphy goes fourth. Kevin Zemstra now for Ferrari starts his lap. Kevin currently fifth in the championship. It's going to be him and Hoffman, then Harrod and Cranstone, and then Cam Dance is going to go out on his own at the end of the session. But I'm excited to see what Zemstra can manage here, Ed, because again, he's one of those drivers that's got the pace, just needs to keep it clean, because sometimes he just oversteps the mark that tiny bit, but he's exciting to watch.
It's easily done. Purple first sector for Kevin Zemstra. The Dutchman is certainly flying through the curves there, just on the exit as well, properly attacking it. You need to be careful on the exit of that corner, though, because it's sort of on the curb, but then there's like a drop down, almost like a gutter or whatever for the rain, and that can drag you into the wall and cause significant damage. But look at that again, close to the walls, just avoiding contact with them. He's properly pushing, and again, another purple sector for the Ferrari driver. This could be provisional pole position right now for Kevin Zemstra. It's all about the exit through there, and again, looking very clean indeed.
And it could be a complete front row lockout for Ferrari as well. Now, hopefully Ben Hoffman doesn't repeat anything that Benetton did here in 1998, because Alexander Wirtz had a very famous incident here at Montreal where he ended up going down the inside, losing his braking marker, and then collecting about 4 cars and rolling over 3 times in the gravel in front of said cars, as well as Zemstra hits the curb. Has a bit of a moment on the exit, has to flick it left very suddenly. Not sure if this is going to be the one, you know, we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be very close to Tim Perry's time, if not beating it. And he does not beat it. 1/10 of a second. That final sector by Tim Perry must have been an absolute monster, because no one can seem to match it other than a couple of drivers here and there that have just beaten it by hundredths, as Hoffman goes into 6th place. But it is still a Ferrari front row for the time being. Very, very close indeed, though, in those times. Like I say, less than 2/10 between the top 4. And next up, we've got another star of the championship here, Ed, in the second of the Jordans. Pete Harrod takes to the track.
Here we go. The Jordan Mugen Honda and across the line, and then in behind him, driver that is certainly one of the favourites to take the title charge all the way till the very end with Cam Dance. This man, Cam Dance, the driver of the McLaren Mercedes, going in towards turn 1. So crucial. You can take a lot of the curb on the inside, does a very good job of it there, carry the speed through brilliantly, and already that is looking like a very mean first sector.
Pete Harrod pushing on, not getting a purple sector right now. It's interesting to see, though, that there are a couple of drivers that hold those purple sectors to themselves as this session goes on. There it is, Jake Cranstone, purple sector 1. So he's managed to beat Pete. What's he done there? Pete did a 25.99, Cranstone did a 25.83, so Pete's not exactly far off, to say the least, in that Jordan. Wonderful looking machine as well, as he makes his way now down towards the hairpin. This run to the hairpin feels so long in any car. It's really annoying. Pete's got a green middle sector of 30.17. 28.65. For some reason they swap around on the timing screen. Let's see what Cranstone can do in the middle sector. 29.09. Yeah, so Cranstone does not get a purple middle sector. But he's certainly improved on it. He's just coming out of the hairpin in the background there.
Pete Harrod had a really quick middle sector, actually, so all of a sudden we could be watching more on Pete Harrod rather than Jake Cranston. It all is going to come down to this final sector here, Chaz. At the moment, Pete Harrod, look at that, chucking it over the curbs, properly throwing it through. That's the way to do it. This could be a really good time for Pete Harrod as he comes across the line. What will it be for the Jordan Mugen Honda? Is it enough for pole position? No, it isn't. Fifth.
Wow.
What on earth is going on there?
Wow, Pete Harrod 5th behind Sam Fitzpatrick. What about Jake Cranstone? Can he beat Tim Perry? No, 8th place for Jake Cranstone. Wow. Wow, oh wow, I did not expect that. But look at it, less than half a second covering the top 9 at the moment. And Tim Perry and Kevin Zemstra, well, at least one of them is going to be on the front row of the grid. Jeez. That's amazing.
It could still be a Ferrari front row, you know, with Cam Dance now going to the circuit all by himself. And this is going to be very pivotal for the championship if Cam Dance is able to finish up onto the front row from qualifying, because his main rival, Jake Cranston, down in 8th place. That is really, really shocking. A turn up for the books. But I think there must have been an incident somewhere in that middle sector for Cranston, because
yeah, he was like 4/10 off Harrod, wasn't he?
He was around about half a second shy of what you'd expect to see from Harrod, and if he had that half a second, he would have been on pole position easily.
Yeah, definitely. He would have been right up there, but still, that's what matters. You have to put it all together here rather than just one good sector. Let's see what Cam Dance can do. It's a green first sector, so it's not even purple from Cam, trying to beat the 2 Ferraris here of Tim Perry and Kevin Zemstra. But Cranstone,
10th in it.
Yeah, Cranstone did an absolute corker though, didn't he, at the beginning? Look at that though. Martin Kenyon's happy with his lap, as he says in the YouTube chat. It's 6/10 off the fastest time, which is great to see. It's very, very close all the way down. Let's see what Cam Dance can manage now then as the other cars make their way into the pits. Oh, he nearly went over the curb there. Nice and smooth on the exit. Let's see what he's like into the hairpin though, because this is so easy to get it wrong. Purple sector 2, Ed.
Yeah, it's 28.6. It's looking all right at the moment for Cam Dance. It's all about the exit, getting onto the power. You can just hear the wheels threatening to spin, which means he's just got it judged to the millimetre. And now the run down the casino straight. And you've got plenty of time to think about how you're going to attack the final chicane. You can see the delta. He knows the time that he's having to beat. Is he going to chuck it through, or will he be a bit more cautious? Whoa. No, he doesn't know such thing. Properly over the first curb, nice and smooth for the second one, so you can get on the power nice and early and all the way up to the line. Will this be another pole position for Cam Dance? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful lap time there by over 1/10 of a second. Cam Dance will be on pole position, and look at that. Some celebratory drifts for the man who's got yet another pole position to add to his tally.
And a broken rear wing to go with it. Well, what a fantastic session that was. My goodness me, that was a hell of a lot of fun, wasn't it? That was really, really good fun, that session. But still, Cam Dance manages to stay right on top there. The 2 Ferraris behind him, though, and his teammate, Sam Fitzpatrick, is right up there. Let's have a look at the results of qualifying, though, so you can see exactly how they'll all be lining up on the grid. And then Ed and I are going to go for a quick break while we've got the warm-up session, and then, of course, we'll get right back on with it and get racing. Cam Dance, then, pole position for him once again. Another championship point at an important time when Jake Cranstone's going to be starting further down. Tim Perry will join him on the front row. Great stuff from Tim. He's really turning his season around at this point, touch wood. Kevin Zemstra in 3rd place alongside the McLaren of Silas Craig-Vrolick, and then Sam Fitzpatrick and Pete Harrod. Those two have been battling all season long already. Mike Murphy in 7th place alongside Ben Hoffman. Those two will be pretty happy to be inside the top 10. And then Drake Cranstone, well, look at that. Compare him to Nico Minardi's time. There's only a couple of thousandths of a second in it. Nico will be really pleased with that. Jack Stiles will start 11th for Stewart, with Martin Kenyon in 12th place for Prost, hoping to get their first points of the season. Tom Minot is next up alongside John Roberts, with Stuart Clark and Simon Price. He's got his Tyrrell teammate Jill Gardner behind him, and then Toby Ward. John Susting is next up in the Prost Peugeot, with Rob Lundgren in the Minardi in 20th place, and the only driver this time to invalidate a lap was Ben Chalcraft in the Jordan. And to be honest, Ed, I'm very excited to see how he can come through from the back of the pack, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to be obviously very exciting to see, but put himself in the position by pushing just a little bit too hard in qualifying. That's the beauty, isn't it, of one-shot qualifying, is that drivers don't have any room for error, any mistakes, and They are obviously pushed very harshly via the floor map, but that is what everyone is having to deal with, and it adds that extra bit of jeopardy to qualifying, which makes it all the more entertaining when drivers like Cam Dance put it all on the line, push incredibly hard, and get the rewards, that pole position.
And that is one extra championship point, like we say. What Ed and I are going to do right now, though, is just take a quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media, just to go and make sure we're all fed, watered, got a drink, all ready to go. I need to turn my fan on because it's boiling in there already. But we'll be back with you in a couple of minutes' time, and then we'll get the Canadian Grand Prix underway. We'll see you in a few. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here for the Canadian Boar Prix, round 4 of Season 2, 1998 in the CDM Boremula World Championship by F1Countdown.com, sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine, with support from Gilles Gardner's Sim Racing Photography and Morgan Butler Sim Racing Photography as well. Ed, we had a very close qualifying session there, but one of the real stars of it, unfortunately, he's just in the pit lane at the moment, and as I've realised, this camera is very broken for the pit lane. Tim Perry's doing some practice starts, but boy, what a session he had.
He really did, as he did, like we mentioned earlier on in the broadcast, at the Sim Racing Magazine Special Events Road American 400 kilometres. Like you say, not spoiling what happened, but he was one of the real stars of the show there, and as it was in qualifying as well. So it's good to see him getting his season back on track after some less than great results, shall we say, at the start of the season. I think had issues at Winton, and then again, actually, I think it was
he retired at the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Interlagos, yeah. So it's good to see him starting to get some momentum back beneath his wings, and looks to be going strong. But obviously, the first few laps of the Canadian Boar Prix will be key in deciding if he's going to be having yet another good result or another evening to forget.
And hopefully this man doesn't have an evening to forget either. Ben Chalcraft hoping to go well from the very back of the grid in his Jordan at this moment in time in the Drivers' Championship. Chalcraft is in 12th place with 10 points, but I don't think that really reflects his pace that he's had, to be honest with you. He's been very, very quick as Ben, and I think that there's certainly some bragging rights to be had between the three Circuit Superstars drivers that have come over: Mike Murphy, Ben Chalcraft and Nico Minardi. Currently Mike Murphy is only 3 points ahead of Chalcraft, who is then 6 points ahead of Nico, but Nico's had a very tough time at the start of the season. It's good to see some of the Tyrrells and the Prosts, and Minardi's going quite well as well. I know that Martin Kenyon will be really hoping for some points here, and at the end of the day, they all want to have that bragging right as well of being the first team to get their first points of the season, because none of them have any yet.
Yeah, exactly. Martin Kenyon again having a great qualifying session. Had another similarly excellent showing at the Spanish World Prix, but I think was involved in an incident very early on, actually, even before they got to the first corner. I think it was Martin Kenyon and Nico Minardi that came to blows, if my memory is not failing me.
Yes, yeah, it was. It was Minardi, Craig Vrolick and Kenyon.
Yeah, so it was a big shame for them to lose out on that occasion, but I think in terms of Martin Kenyon, he's put himself yet again in a good position to score some good points for Prost.
He's certainly going to be hoping for them, as the circuit will now suddenly go quiet as the session comes to an end. And get comfy, everybody. Hold on to your spleen, because we're going to get the Canadian Boar Prix underway here at Montreal, and I'm really excited for this one. Cannot wait, because this is one of my favourite circuits in the world. It's a real Marmite track, as we've said, but I know that a lot of the drivers here really enjoy it. Here's your grid then. Cam Dance starts on pole position alongside Tim Perry in the Ferrari. Then it's Kevin Zemstra and Silas Craig Vrolick. Sam Fitzpatrick and Pete Harrod are on row 3, with Mike Murphy and Ben Hoffman on row 4. Jake Cranstone next up in 9th place. Look out for him coming through the order and avoiding incident, hopefully. Nico Minardi will start 10th. Jack Stiles 11th alongside Martin Kenyon, with Tom Minot and John Roberts next up. Then it's Stuart Clark and Simon Price, with Gilles Gardner and Toby Ward on row 9. John Tusting and Rob Lundgren round out the top 20, with Ben Chalcraft starting at the back of the grid after not setting a valid time. So then, car 1, P1 for Cam Dance, the last car to make it onto the grid. Great looking grid here at Montreal. The red lights come on, and round 4 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is underway. The lights go out very quickly. There's a couple of cars further back that pile into each other. Minardi's involved, can you believe it? Ben Chalcraft, I think, involved as well. Simon Price. There was a couple of cars that did not get going, and there was Argy Bargy, and then all of a sudden they just climbed on each other. We'll have to come back to it and see what happened. Hopefully they can
Kenyon
get...
as well.
Oh no. No.
I think I've cursed him even before the race begun, Chaz.
Now hopefully no dramas here, because it was this first lap last time. Oh, I had to say it. That was Toby Ward, I think, going in the wall. Or was it? No, it was Jack Stiles. Jack Stiles in contact, and that is not Jake Cranstone, is it, with damage? Jake Cranstone's got big damage on the front right. That's championship protagonist in trouble, and he's not going to be able to make it around the lap with that damage, surely. Hopefully he doesn't collect anybody else, because, I mean, he doesn't want to obviously tow it back, but Cam Dance has had the dream start. And look at this lot. Perry, Zemstra, Craig Vrolick and Harrod just behind, and then Sam Fitzpatrick, Mike Murphy and Ben Hoffman. Then there's a big gap behind.
madness everywhere you look in these opening half a lap. But I'll tell you what, Chaz, I think we've had our fair share of cursing the drivers there. Obviously, you had that moment just mentioning about keeping it clean through turns 3 and 4, and then what do we see? Jack Styles pretty much up, almost airborne on the exit into the barrier. I think he's been able to keep it going, but almost presumably with damage. And then what we were talking about earlier with Nico Minardi, and Martin Kenyon, hoping they can get away well. Well, unfortunately not. It seems that they've both came to blows. Again, that is,
I mean, fair effort.
Severe damage there. I mean, credit to him, he's not really in anyone's way. I mean, he's obviously going to be coming into the pits ahead of Jake Cranston, who also has damage himself. But well done to keeping it straight. It's now slowing it down for the pit lane is going to be the tricky thing.
Yeah, I didn't dare watch, to be honest. We look back here from Kevin Zemstra, and the Ferraris, well, they're certainly going well right now. Tim Perry, second place. Zemstra, third. Craig Vrolik in fourth. And I mean, this train goes really far back, actually, because now Tom Minot and Stuart Clark are involved. Toby Ward's gained 7 places. John Tusting has gained 7 places as well. The Stuart and the Prost hoping to, of course, get some more points on the board. I don't think Toby's got any points, actually, at the moment, so it's going to be his first if he finishes inside the top 12. Gilles Gardner up 4 places. Rob Lundgren up 6. But let's have a look back, Ed, at what on earth happened at that start. Let's go to the Blimpie boy. So Minardi's right in the middle of his shot. Who is it that doesn't get going? It is Nico. Kenyon hits him, and then, oh, well, I think it's, Chalcraft tries to go through a gap, and then, Martin Kenyon, I think, is one of the cars involved in the middle of all that, and then Nico gets hit as well. Let's go back on board with Nico. Yeah, it's Martin Kenyon right behind him, but then it's the Minardi just drives straight into him. I don't think he had anywhere to go. Doesn't go. It's because he's built the revs up and then he wants to drop it into first. It's John Roberts that piles into him. And then the other cars involved, there's one of the Tyrrells, I think that's Simon Price. Oh, goodness me. Let's see how Martin Kenyon got involved in this then. Oh, he was the car directly behind, wasn't he? Let's watch it from Ben Chalcraft, right at the back of the grid. Oh, he's in the middle already. Oh, and suddenly they just all sort of try and move around him. And he gets absolutely railed, doesn't he? Horrible, horrible stuff.
What happened to Jack Styles as well later on in that same movement, because obviously a few corners later he was the one that we saw with massive damage. I think this was the incident into turns 3 and 4. Nico Minardi, yeah, just stuck still.
Oh, it's a big, big mess, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the word to describe it, really, is a mess. And then we come to Jack Styles.
So it's with Jake Cranstone.
Yeah, this was potentially where the damage was done to one of the championship protagonists, all into the same corner, and it was actually happened just in front of him.
Oh, oof. Jake just clipped the curb and ran wide, didn't he?
Yeah.
Unreal stuff. Pete Harrod's lost a few places, by the way. Sam Fitzpatrick's just got past him, and Mike Murphy and Tom Minot have gone past Ben Hoffman. So let's have a look at how they got past Ben. It's going to be a mistake on the exit here, I'm sure, by the Benetton. Oh, he's gone too hot, and he's cut the corner, so he's going to have to serve a a slowdown penalty for that one. And then we need to look at Pete Harrod, because he's been overtaken by Sam Fitzpatrick. Maybe on the exit of here, getting a little bit exuberant, Pete. No, nothing by the look of it. We'll fast forward to it and see what we can find out from Sam. Oh, it's literally at the end of the straight. Is Pete going to make a muck up of this?
Looks like it just over-rotates on him.
Yeah,
as well to hang on there. Interesting enough, though, Chaz, Tim Perry's done it again. He's closed down a gap to Cam Dance. It was, I think, 1.5 seconds at one stage, and now the Ferrari driver, who's on fine form, I think it's fair to say, here on Chaz Draycott Media, could be on track for 2 great results, one day after the other.
Yeah, he's really going for it, isn't he, Tim Perry? It's great to see it. The 2 Ferraris, second and third. Then you've got Silas Craig Vrolik, then Sam Fitzpatrick, Pete Harrod, Mike Murphy, and then, Tom Minot, Ben Hoffman. The cameras were too far apart. Gilles Gardner and Rob Lundgren right together here. They've got the rest of the cars behind them now that have pitted and served their sort of fast repairs and stuff. A lot of them managed to actually get back to the pits. They haven't towed. Everyone's still racing, though. And that's one thing we love here in this championship, is the determination of the drivers. Gardner's got a bit of damage on that right-hand side pod, so I wonder if that is affecting the car at all. But he's still cracking on, and at the end of the day, he has to pit after lap 10 as, oh no, Kenyon is off. Kenyon's, what was a brilliant night. Oh, it's going to be the Wall of Champions, isn't it? Oh, he's going to overcorrect it. Oh no, and he's already had his fast repair. And that, unfortunately, for Martin Kenyon is going to be that. After what was a really strong qualifying, his race comes to an end. Let's go further up the front, though, because Cam Dance is not getting away from Tim Perry here. And to be honest, I think some of the slipstream is definitely helping on this back straight. But he still has to get it done in the wiggly stuff, does Tim Perry. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah, it really is. And again, you can just see, isn't it, little clouds of dust or something, isn't it, being kicked up on the exit of the final chicane. Like you say, it's obviously helping Tim Perry to be in the slipstream, but through the corners, and there is a lot. There is quite a few of them around here. You just have to put in the work to deal with the dirty air, the aero wash, which is a factor in these cars, and certainly something you'd love to live without around here, because any understeer, any sort of instability in the car, and the walls being as close as they are, it's not fun.
Now these two are battling for position. Ben Chalcraft and Nico Minardi. They're teammates over on Circuit Superstars, as is Mike Murphy. But they are a lap down on the cars in front of them. But unfortunately for them, they're quicker than them at the moment as well. We've had the fastest lap of the race by Sam Fitzpatrick, who's done a 1:33.81. Well, I think Chalcraft and Minardi are just going to have to push on here and maybe go past, although Nico looks down the inside. They are going to have to unlap themselves if the pace is that different, I think. There's no real sort of holding back from it. They can't just wait behind Gilles Gardner forever. Rob Lundgren's got in front up to 13th place. And John Tusting is currently 7 places gained. So too is Rob Lundgren and Toby Ward now. So the three of them all moving together at a similar speed. And John Tusting is on his way with basically one shoulder to actually get points for Prost. But it's only lap 5 out of a 29-lap race. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. But the first retirement of the race, it seems, unfortunately, is Martin Kenyon.
Big shame for Martin Kenyon, who looked like he was going to be the driver to get the points for Prost with that qualifying performance, but now the mantle has been passed over to his teammate John Tusting, who, like you say, is doing a very good job up in 12th place. Bearing in mind, though, a lot of the drivers from 15th down, and it's actually every driver from 15th down, has made a pit stop. That includes Jack Stiles, John Roberts, Jake Cranston, Nico Minardi, Ben Chalcraft, Simon Price, and Martin Kenyon. So importantly, for the complexion of the race, they will not need to pit any more times. So then we'll have to look further ahead and see where they'll slot themselves into when the likes of Cam Dance, Tim Perry, and all the other drivers further ahead of them.
Well, you say that.
Their pit stops.
You say that, Ed.
Oh, dearie me. A little bit optimistic, potentially, in towards the towards the final chicane. And is that damage, and is that a retirement for Nico Minardi?
Yeah, the car's bent. Yeah, the car is completely bent. It's not going in a straight line. So, unfortunately, Nico out the race. Ben has carried on, but I think he's got quite a damaged car. Yeah, the rear end of it really not playing ball. We do go back to this, though, because Tom Minot and Mike Murphy are having a good old scrap in the midfield. It was attritional last season as well, this race, and it's being attritional once again. It's such a tough part of the season, but at the end of the day, these things do shake up championships, and that's what we love. To be fair, obviously, commiserations to any of the drivers that lose out because of it, but at the end of the day, that's racing sometimes. And look at this by Tom Minot down the inside of Mike Murphy, very close to the chicane though. Tom didn't really give him all the room in the world there, but still got away with it. They've got Ben Hoffman behind them. Let's not forget Bon Heffman. He got a slowdown penalty earlier after going straight over the chicane. And then on to the brakes he goes. Martin Kenyon says his second clutch wasn't bound or sort of mapped as a button for the start of the race for some reason. Not quite sure why. But here we go. Ben Hoffman, this is where he went off earlier on, just pushing it in that little bit too hard. You can bet now every single time he goes through there, he's going to be as careful as possible, isn't he, Ed?
Yeah, he can't afford any missteps or mistakes, even though I have something to take maybe for flash press. I don't think he does he, Chaz?
Well, I mean, there's pressure on Ben Hoffman anyway, because he's fourth in the championship at the moment, so he's right up there. You see?
Oh yeah, he hasn't pit yet, has he? Yeah,
no,
he should be fine.
No, we've got a long way back to any of these
I'm
other
just
guys.
thinking of so many people have had incidents and crashes. It's difficult to keep track of who's got what gone wrong with them so far. But it's all been smooth sailing out in front for likes of Sam Fitzpatrick, who's actually made a position up on Silas Craig Frolic. This is how he did it, in towards the hairpin, around the outside, late on the brakes, and Silas, I think, backs out of it. Yeah, decides it's not worth fighting. Knows he had a poor run out the previous corner and thinks Probably for the best if he doesn't. Meanwhile, into the lead of the race, Tim Perry for Ferrari ahead of Cam Dance, and this is the worrying thing because Cam Dance always does this. He always relinquishes the position early on the race, gives the drivers a bit of hope, and then immediately snatches it back right on the very end. So we'll see how this works out for Tim, but at the moment he's going to be enjoying life in first place.
There's battling going on here as well. Further down, Ben Hoffman trying to now get past Mike Murphy. Benetton goes past Sauber. He goes around the outside at turn 2. But then Mike Murphy with the shorter line. Ben Hoffman with the run. Ben's going to just nip in front, I think. Is Mike going to try it on the brakes? No, he's not. Because he knows that if they try too hard, they're going to lose Tom Minot just in front, who's gained 6 places at this moment in time. One thing Cam Dance needs to be careful of, though, and as we saw it last week, he's so good on the brakes, is Cam Dance, that he is always braking later than the car in front. He needs to be so careful not to go into the back of Tim Perry here. We saw him do it to his own teammate last week at the Spanish Born Prix. His teammate, by the way, Sam Fitzpatrick, is now up into 4th, so it's 2 Williams and 2 Ferraris inside the top 4, and then the McLaren and the Jordan of Craig Rullick and Harrod just clinging on for dear life at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and again, this is what we saw last time out, actually. Pete Harrod just hanging back in the fight, just waiting in the wings. At least I think I remember it was, I think it was actually Pete Harrod of the Jordans that was there, waiting in the wings, ready to pounce should there be an incident. And, well, I mean, there was an incident, wasn't there, between, obviously, 2 Williams Mechachrome cars that he was able to profit from and end up in the podium positions, if memory serves right.
Absolutely did. Here we go. Ben Hoffman looking down the inside of Tom Minot. He's in there somewhere. When that camera changes early, it doesn't like it. Minot rear end steps out a little bit on the arrows, but still, Ben Hoffman gets in front, keeps it nice and tidy. Mike Murphy wants a bit of this as well. Great battles going on, which we'd love to see. But Minot now will want to get that back off Ben Hoffman as soon as possible. What's Mike Murphy going to be like in this first sector? Because he knows now that these guys are going to start fighting, and that's going to keep them in striking distance, or keep him in striking distance of them, I should say. We're at lap 9 at the moment, so at the end of the next lap is when the drivers will be able to pit. I wonder if anyone's going to pit early and get it out of the way, just to get out of the train, because there's a lot of slipstream on the back straight here, but that is the only place really where you do get the chance to use it. Maybe here as well. I don't know, it's not so prominent down this part of the circuit because you don't really use it into the chicane that well. You still have to be very careful on the brakes, so we'll see how it all plays out. We've got this little trio at the moment, and then the lead sextet, as it would be called, and then look at that behind. It's almost completely evenly spread out between everybody, other than the few cars that are a lap down. But it's Tim Perry right now that leads this race for Ferrari. I'm sure that's a sentence that he'll enjoy listening back to if he watches the broadcast. He's been driving a lot of Ferraris as well, of course, here on iRacing, doing his track guides for the fixed Ferrari GT3 Challenge. Look at these guys now being patient behind one another. Sam Fitzpatrick lining up behind Kevin Zemstra. Anyone going for the pits early on? No, certainly doesn't look like it.
Tom Minot, Ben Hoffman battling away in the background, coming into the chicane. And then you've also got Mike Murphy in the mix.
Whoa.
Had, I think, a little look to the inside, but thought better of it. This little battle for 7th place is really getting hot and heavy, because you can see that they're all fighting nice and hard, and they know that it's a bit of a tall ask to catch up to the rear end of Pete Harrod, and they've got a sizable margin to Stuart Clark in behind, so you know what, why not fight for these positions right now?
Well, that's it, and then they've got, it's 5.8 seconds back to Stuart. He's very much on his own right now. Toby Ward's then a good 4 seconds back, so some of them are going to be having lonely races, but Toby will be happy to get some championship points on the board. I did mistakenly say earlier that he had no points, but he's got 1. He would get 2 for finishing in 11th. And John Tusting, if he finished there, with the injury that he's come back from, to get some points would be awesome in 12th place, and he would get a championship point for his troubles. Now, Tim Perry streaked away a little bit here, because Cam Dance seems to be holding these guys up. If anything, I think there might have been a bit of a dive by one of the drivers, or a bit of a mistake at least by some of them. Kevin Zemstra needs to be careful now, because down his inside, Sam Fitzpatrick's found a bit of room there, side by side on the exit of the corner. Don't think that Sam's going to be able to keep the overlap. He's not, but he's going to be tucked right in the slipstream now. This is going to be really feisty stuff. Let's see whether he goes for a move down into the chicane. I think some of them may pit this time round, because this is lap 10, sorry, not the previous one. No, Sam backing out of it. Craig Rullick closing in behind him, and then Pete Harrod as well. I think Sam's pitting. No, he's not. I was expecting him to hold back that much, because then he could speed up on his way into the pit lane. I've seen people do it before, but he didn't do it this time round. Let's have a look back at this lot. Oh, into the pits comes Tom Minot. Tom's decided to dive out of that one early. Interesting move. So we'll have to keep our eye out on him, but still, Tim Perry leads only just from everybody else, because look at this rabble. This is true Formula 1. This is what we had last season and have had at the start of the season as well. It's always this lead train, isn't it, that is the most exciting of them all.
Yeah, they're always just so close to one another. Look at that brilliant shot
Look
coming
good,
out
doesn't
of
it?
turn 4. That was wonderful. And now you can see they're all moving about a little bit to try and unsettle one another. Maybe not to properly send the moves, but you can see into the braking zone there's little half looks to the inside. Not any outbraking attempts or anything like that, but just positioning the car to take advantage should someone find themselves offline. Everyone is right there and are ready to pounce. As we are following Stella's profile, the lone Mercedes up inside of this battle for the top 6.
Yeah, his
One thing
teammate.
to watch is the lap times as well, actually, of his teammate Jake Cranston, who is actually lapping quicker than Tim Perry in the lead of the race. And now, Jake Cranston, while he did find himself further back down the order on account of the damage and the pit stop he had to take, he doesn't need to come in any longer. He can carry on. No more pit stops required. Will we actually see him maybe involved in this fight before the end of the race when everyone's sorted out their pit stops? I wouldn't count it out.
No, I definitely wouldn't. Bit of cloud cover comes over the circuit now as the top 6 once again whistles its way past the start-finish line. But I think you're absolutely right, Ed. There is definitely potential for Cranstone to get back up
Look
there.
at that last lap.
Yeah, Cranstone did a 1:34.29 last time round, and Tim Perry did a 1:34.71, half a second quicker.
Purple first sector for Jake as well. He's properly pushing. It's going under the radar because of where he is on the circuit, but he's putting in a great shift.
He really is pushing now. It may not be the most exciting thing in the world because he's all on his own with no one to battle with, but Jake Cranstone is on the pace right now. The only thing that he needs to not do, oh my god, is overdo it, I was going to say. He just needs to be careful, because when you're all on your own like this and you've not got a visual target and another car to race against, it's very easy to go chasing the numbers too hard and push that limit too far, because he knows that he'll be going quicker than these guys, but probably not by how much. Sam Fitzpatrick's now made his way up to 3rd place in the Williams. He's gained another spot over Kevin Zemstra, and in doing that, he's given Cam Dance a little bit of breathing room now, and maybe actually ruin the slipstream for him and the guys behind. We'll have to see how that plays out later on, but we've got 4 manufacturers in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th here. We've got the Williams ahead of Ferrari, McLaren and Jordan, and then the top 2 still together as Tim Perry leads this race on lap 12 out of 29 here in the Canadian Boremula Prix. Great race so far though. A lot of attrition, unfortunately. Nico Minardi and Martin Kenyon, as they were at the Spanish Boremula Prix, out of the race in the early stages. Tim Perry drove through the field beautifully at Spain. Oh my goodness me, that was very close. Unbelievable.
He just chucked it through that final sector. That was really great to watch.
Personal
Inch
best
perfect
62
over
as
the
well.
curbs.
Oh, Mike Murphy's had an off. Mike Murphy's been off at the final corner. He manages to get back on, but he's lost a lot of time there and he'll have had a slowdown penalty from that. Stuart Clark is just lingering in the background. Stuart's gained 6 places so far in this race. Toby Ward, John Tusting and Rob Lundgren have all gained 10, 11th and 12th have gained 8 places each. But obviously Tom Minot has pitted so far. I'll show you the pit stops on the left-hand side of the screen so you can see who's been in there. But look, Ben Chalcraft, despite his dramas earlier, Minot's had a normal race pretty much. He's actually on the same lap as him there, is Ben Chalcraft. So yeah, there's definitely hope for these people that have still had damage earlier on, because one of the initial problems we had in the very first race, which I apologise profusely to Kevin Zemstra and Morgan Butler about actually, was the fact that some of them had incidents on the first lap. We had a 25% fuel limit, which meant that even though they had an incident, they couldn't make it to the end still on fuel, which was a bit savage to be fair, and they didn't have much to race for then, knowing they'd have to pit again. So we upped it to 50%, but kept 25% in the car to begin with. So that was thankfully Jack Johns, the racing line, gave me that advice, and we still thank him for that, and obviously his service in the first season. But he explained that if people can then make it to the end, at least they can try and get back into the race. If they've lost time because of any incident or whatever drama they've had before that point, but at least they can still give it a go to get back into the race, and it gives them more to race for. It means that we don't have people quitting early on. Nico and Martin both unfortunately having a fast repair used and then getting more and more damage after that. You could hear Cam Dance backing out really early there on his way into turns 1 and 2. He's just filling Tim Perry's mirrors right now, and Tim, well, he's doing a great job at soaking up all this pressure, I'd say.
He's doing a great job, but sometimes that is still not enough when you're up against the likes of Cam Dance, who has just put in his fastest lap. And in fact, I think not quite the fast, but certainly a personal best for Cam Dance last time around. Just showing that he's still got the pace inside of him and is, just a moment away from unleashing it fully and properly taking the fight to Tim Perry before the pit stops are to come through. Speaking of pit stops, Gilles Gardner coming in a little bit earlier potentially than predicted, but still well after the 10-lap window. Jake Cranston carrying on though, purple first sector. He's still pushing as hard as ever, even though he hasn't got anyone around him, and it's easy to sort of, when you're off by yourself, is to sort of resign yourself and not bother pushing as hard, but he knows he can go to the end, and it's all about if those front drivers battle, which they have been doing, he can still see himself with a very good result. In fact, look at that, dipping into the 33s, that's no slipstream, and he's matching the time set by Cam Dance, who had slipstream.
One thing, though, there's a balance to this, though, is Cam Dance may have the slipstream, but he has to back out of corners earlier, so he loses time in doing so. There's a bit of a weird sort of caveat to it when you're in these sorts of battles, but there goes Cam Dance down the inside into turn 1. Doesn't quite get clear by turn 2, though, but this is the worst-case scenario for Tim Perry, because he could get held up here, and both Williams could get past the pair of these Ferraris now and move in front. No, Tim slots in nicely into second place. He needs to keep his head through these corners, so it's easy to lose it, and now Sam Fitzpatrick's going to be on the attack as he goes down the inside, actually, through the right-hander, but Tim's going to have the inside line here. If Sam can carry the pace around the outside, he'll have the inside for the exit. Oh, the overlap's gone, but so is Cam Dance. Cam's disappeared up the road already, look. I
think Cam's going into the pits this lap.
Yeah, he's just pushing now. Now he knows that he's got the pit stop in mind. He's going to crack on with it. Fuel should last about 17 laps, says Martin Kenyon. Is down the inside. Suddenly, Sam Fitzpatrick goes from the attacker to the attacked. And all of a sudden, still Craig Vrolic is back in the picture as well. Great stuff here in the Formula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com. And here at the Canadian Grand Prix, it's just got even hotter. And the wick has been turned up even more.
Personal best middle sector by Cam Dance, who is really pushing. He's going to be in. I'll tell you why he's gone into the lead of the race as well before coming to the pits. People think, oh, well, what's the point? It's going to be coming to the pits anyway. What does the track position matter? Well, the way you pit in here, it's basically a straight line. You don't need to worry about backing out to not run into the back of any cars ahead of you. You can just plough straight on. But Cam Dance decides not to. He's carrying on. I thought it'd be a surefire bet to be going into the pits.
Pete Harrod is the one that comes into the pit lane in the Jordan, so he dives out from the back of this
sees
pack.
He sees him battling, wants no part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Pete Harrod's thinking, right, I'm just going to wait now for you lot to crack on with that, and I'm going to pit in clean air, and I'm going to have a decent outlap. So keep your eye on Harrod on the left-hand side of your screen there on the timing tower.
Keep your eye on Cranston, wherever he will be, because obviously that's going to be the benchmark to see where Jake is in relation to those battling top 6, and if he can get involved in that fight.
I don't think
the end of the evening. He might not be close enough, but we'll certainly see and watch for, because it is a decent length of time that the cars can spend in the pits. In fact, actually, Harrod's already on his way out, and Cranston's nowhere near.
Yeah, Tom Minot is half a minute ahead of him, and he's had a normal pit stop as well, and no issues at the start of the race. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure. Cranston obviously had a lot more damage in the early stages. Chalcraft is a lap down on Tom Minot as well, just behind him, so that's nothing to worry about for him. Rob Lundgren is now in the pit lane as well, but look at that. Cam Dance 1.2 seconds clear now on this lap. He's done another personal best sector 2. He's really on a mission as the reigning champion, and he certainly wants to prove the point that no one else is allowed to win races in Formula 1 other than Cam Dance. He's won 10 races now. No other driver in the history of this series, I know it's a short history, but still, in the history of this series, no one has won more than 2 races. Let's go on board with him, see what he does then when it comes to pitting in. Does he? No. Another lap for Cam Dance. Does any of the train behind come in? No. I think they're all going to react to him and try and do it at the same time. So very interesting tactics indeed going on here in the Canadian Grand Prix, but it's Cam Dance once more with 12 laps to go now. We're over half race distance, and the fuel tanks will definitely get them to the end. We've got a purple sector 3 by Sam Fitzpatrick on that lap, so he's using the slipstream to his advantage with the 2 Ferraris in front. Ferrari will love this round though, and so will Williams, because McLaren lead the teams championship. Williams will definitely go into the lead with this one, and Ferrari will probably vault some of the other teams as well that they've got just in front of them, which is actually just Jordan a third. So yeah, with Chalcraft not having a great time of it, it's going to be a fantastic day for Ferrari.
Yeah, I think the Jake Cranston car we're going to be seeing out on track is probably just going to be aiming for some amount of points. Because obviously, with the championship being as close as it is, sometimes those extra points can make all of the difference.
Definitely.
Come the final round, especially in terms of the drivers, but also the team's standings. It is obviously the lone McLaren Mercedes up inside that battle. It's now become the top 5. It is very good for Williams and Cam Dance, who continues to lead and is extending an advantage over Tim Perry. It does obviously come way down on the straights. But if he can keep it at about a second, he can come into the pits without any fear of running into the back of cars ahead. But no, he carries on. Although, look at that. Perry and Zemstra both straight into the pit lane. And now this is pivotal for the race. Sam Fitzpatrick, he doesn't have any slipstream whatsoever from his teammate. And Charles Craig Frolic, he could smell a chance at a position here.
And he can smell a podium as well, I reckon, Casillas, and he needs it because he's not had a great start to his season. After being fastest in pre-season testing, he's really hoping for some big points. Jack Wells in the chat, good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Says it looks like 2 great races in a row for Ferrari. Absolutely, mate. Jack was also commenting on how close the qualifying session was earlier on, and he's absolutely right. Now we're in some of the further down pit boxes here. What about Zemstra? He's ahead of Perry. Zemstra is ahead of his teammate Tim Perry now. The 2 Ferraris have swapped round. Not quite sure how much that means for them because they will still work together, I reckon. But wow, big change there actually in the race, considering that those 2, before it looked dead set that Perry was going to finish ahead out of the pair of them at least. And Nico Minardi in the YouTube chat saying hopefully one day I'll get that freaking first gear in. It's heartbreaking after such a good week of practice with good pace, and it absolutely is, Nico. It's one of those horrible things about this car. As soon as you've got any revs on at all, it doesn't want to change gear. You have to do it on 0 revs, hold it on the clutch, and then have it in first before you rev the thing. And it's caught me out so many times when I've just been trying to do thumbnails in this car and drive it on a controller, even without the sound on and everything. Just trying to rev it, thinking, why is it not going? Remapping my controller and everything. Turns out it's just when you've got no revs. That's the only time you can get it to go into gear. Here comes Cam Dance then, straight on into the pit lane. Slows it down, and behind him as well, Sam Fitzpatrick and Celeste Craig Vrolik both into the pits as well. Here is Kevin Zemstra and his teammate Tim Perry making their dash for the line. They're a good 2 seconds clear of Pete Harrod as well, so Pete's not in the slipstream there. Martin Kenyon says that hard luck. Sorry I went into the back of you. My wheels were spinning like crazy. Minardi says, I don't blame you, Martin. I don't blame you. And this is the thing. It's a wonderful community here in the championship. And, you know, the guys all know that they're racing against each other fairly and everyone makes mistakes. Let's go on board with Tim Perry here, though, Ed, because the other cars are going to be coming out of the pit lane in just a moment's time. The revs are building up now, and they're getting going. Fitzpatrick moving before Craig Vrolik. Of course, he stopped just before him. Where is Cam Dance? Cam's already there. Look at that.
He's got so much clear air, Cam Dance.
Oh, my God.
He's going to have so much air free ahead of likes of Craig Frolic, who's actually now up into second place is Silas. So Silas has jumped Fitzpatrick, who've both jumped Zemstra and Perry. Perry's found himself from first, all of a sudden into 5th in the space of, 3 laps?
Unbelievable.
Oh, ridiculous.
Well, the 2 Ferraris have definitely got the real-life Ferrari strategist in their box for this round of the championship by the look of it. They've really dropped it there, haven't they? Dropped the ball, unfortunately. Now they're in 4th and 5th places. Still a solid night for points, of course, but that's not what they would have wanted at all. Pete Harrod in 6th. Ben Hoffman is in 7th position, and he's very much on his own right now. He's got 6 seconds back to Tom Minot. He's got Mike Murphy and then Stuart Clark behind. Stuart Clark's got Jack Stiles behind him as well. We've not seen much of the Stewarts in this race, to be fair. In 11th and 12th, both in point-scoring positions right now. And Toby Ward has actually jumped John Tusting by pitting a lap before him even. It's the opposite strategy to what we saw from the other drivers before. Tusting unfortunately dropping out of the points, which means that still, as things stand, Prost, Minardi and Tyrrell will not have any points on the board in the championship at this stage, which is a real shame. But this battle now is going to be the one to watch. Can Williams get only the 2nd ever 1-2 finish in Formula 1 history? The first one was just 2 rounds ago by this man, Silas Craig Vrolik, and his teammate Jake Cranstone.
Yeah, I think Silas will certainly have something to say about that. It won't be the perfect weekend for Williams. They obviously did get the point for pole position in the case of Cam Dance, but they didn't lock out the front row, unfortunately. Still, though, it has been a very good evening for Cam Dance, who's trying to build the advantage, get out of the slipstream from Silas Frolic, who's chasing behind. Well, Jack Styles, credit to him, he had a lot of damage on that car. Has managed to keep going and find himself back up into 10th position.
Yeah, good stuff for Jack. Up into the top 10, 1 place gained considering the accident earlier on. Stuart Clark's gained 4, Toby Ward's gained 6, John Tusting's gained 6, and Rob Lundgren has also gained 6. He's got his teammate John Roberts just behind him in the other Minardi, another one that had big damage from the start of the race. It's great to see these guys still cracking on though. You know, even if they do have damage, it's a big shame when that happens at the start of the race. And I think Chalcraft has tried to get his car fixed twice now, and it's still coming out a bit dodgy and a bit wonky. He's got Jake Cranstone a lap ahead of him right now. Jake's going to be hoping to pick some points up from these Minardis, but then again, they're not even in the points. He needs to gain... Well, he only needs to gain 10 seconds, you know, to get to Toby Ward up the road. He's got 9 laps.
I think we missed something here, though, Chaz, because we can see that Jack Styles came in at the same... Basically, they were at the same area, weren't they, on the back straight before coming into the pits. But Jack Styles has got a much greater lead over Jake Cranston. Yeah. And I think it's because he's come into the pits an extra time. I'm not sure what for.
Yeah, Jake's been in again, hasn't he? Oh dear.
We've missed this.
Yeah,
that was...
No, you're absolutely
Throughout
right,
all of the carnage and chaos in the opening laps, I think we can be forgiven for that because there was so much going on. But yeah, Jake Cranston, he had to come into the pits a second time, and I don't exactly know why. Maybe he went into the pits, it didn't have the repair checked, or he missed his box and then went around a second time with damage.
I'm gonna check this. So Jake Cranstone entered the pit lane here. So this is behind Jack Styles. You can see the car's not behaving itself. It's not going straight. He's taking it nice and cautious. He knows at the end of the day he's lost a lot of time. He's lost a lot of positions. Yeah, he left the pit lane after that, and then he came in again another minute or so later. Let's see. Let's just keep our eye on this stop. Martin Kenyon says he didn't check his fast repair. I think that must have been the case. So into the box. Is it not going to get going? No, it's not. That's not been repaired, has it? Oh no. Let's see when he leaves the pit lane. This is when he leaves the pit lane. Yeah, it's still broken. Oh no, Jake. Oh, that's such a shame, and the car's going to feel like absolute backside. Yeah, look, it's not behaving itself. No. So, Jake had the opportunity, really, to get right up there with this lot, and has unfortunately fluffed it for himself. The two Ferraris have now got a bit more drama going on because their strategist has thrown them right into the path of Pete Harrod. And to be honest, out of all people, I don't want to be near Pete Harrod on a circuit because he's rapid, is Pete. We've seen it already this season. 3rd in the championship. He's chasing down the Ferraris.
Yeah, here we go. Interestingly enough, though, Cam Dance's advantage has been well and truly vanishing into the air because Silas Frolic, he's closed that right down to under 1 second. It's now at 6/10 the gap from first down to second. And Silas, the reason why it came down so much is because he did the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 33.76. Superb lap time there by Silas to close that gap down. Like you mentioned, Pete Harrod's in with the mix for this for 4th place. But I still wonder if Zemstra and Perry, if they can work together and not fight too much, if Zemstra has enough to catch up to Fitzpatrick should those front 3 start to battle.
Yeah, it's 4.7 seconds at the moment, and I think if these guys really do throw one another at one another, then there could be a strong battle on here that will hold them all up. Sam Fitzpatrick, I don't think, is going to go chasing after his teammate. He and Cam Dance both part of the initial flurry of drivers. Oh no, Ferrari have folded again. It's like real life. And Tim Perry's been overtaken by Pete Harrod. So I said before that Tim's probably going to work with Kevin, knowing that now he's the one behind and he's the one that dictates whether he goes for a move. And all of a sudden it's gone to pot even further. The gap is now 5.8 seconds. So they lost 1.1 seconds in that alone. There's a move further down as Mike Murphy and Tom Minot continue their fight. No, Tom's looped it. Tom's looped it. He's kept it out of a barrier. He's lit up the rears. Oh no, he needs to be really careful with this. Good stuff. That was good stuff, that. He stopped. As soon as he started reversing and he realised there was a car coming, he stopped in his tracks and made it predictable. That's lovely to see. We've got a battle going on somewhere behind the buildings there, which is John Tusting trying to chase down Toby Ward. That's for the final points position as well, that is. Car behind them is a lap down, which is Simon Price, and he's not going to be doing anything to harm those guys. But at the very front of the field, Cam Dance, Silas Cragvrolic and Sam Fitzpatrick now, they're going to start turning the wick up in the final moments.
John Tusting and Toby Ward, this is for Prost's first points of the season. So this is crucial for John Tusting. Let's not forget he is a wounded man, obviously after his shoulder surgery, in recovery and doing a great job. Even if he isn't quite at 100%, this is great for Prost and their hopes this season. If they can continue to fight just around the points playing positions, if they can get ahead of Toby, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But obviously, they will need to worry about Jake Cranston, who is rapidly approaching in behind.
Yeah, he's 4.8 seconds back. He's just about in the background. You'll see him just here. And he's on his way. He's done a purple sector 1 on this lap, and he's about, well, 2 seconds a lap quicker than these guys. We've got 5 laps left, and he's 4.5 seconds behind. So we'll have to see whether that does end up being the points battle for the end. Here's the lead battle to the end, though. It's the 2 Williams against the McLaren. Silas Cragvrolic is the McLaren meat in the sandwich here with Winfield flavoured bread, which I think is probably horrendous. But Sam Fitzpatrick, once again, you know, he wasn't the fastest in pre-season testing. He had some pretty solid results during said pre-season testing. His racecraft has been brilliant here. He started 5th on the grid. Silas started just in front of him in 4th. They've both gained 2 places each, and they're having a solid race of this, I'd say. Really good stuff from Sam this season.
It's been brilliant. Obviously, Tim Parry is the driver that's lost the most out of the front runners, dropping down 4 positions from his qualifying position of 2nd. But he hasn't really been helped, has he, by his teammate Kevin Zemstra. That little bit of contact coming through the final chicane. I have no idea how Tim Parry held it, to be fair. It was almost at right angles to the circuit at one stage. Speed, so well done to hang on to it. Let's have a look here. We've got something going on with Rob Lundgren. And as he just over-rotated it into turn 1 on the exit, just, I think, too eager on the throttle. And that sends him looping away around. But doesn't lose a lot of time and is able to keep it going. This is the Tim Parry, Kevin Zemstra incident. Tim Parry looking for a move up on the inside. And it's just...
Oh, why? Tim, come on. Tim, you didn't need to do it. Because look at where Pete is in comparison. He's already hanging back knowing there's going to be a drama. Look at that. Whoa, the interlock wheels for a moment as well. Flipping heck, boys. Do they know they're on the same team? Oh, goodness. Well, Cam Dance's lead is now back up to 0.8 of a second because now that Silas's mirrors are filling with Sam Fitzpatrick, hello, it's getting very, very busy now. They need to be careful kissing the wall like that because all it takes is one little knock, a bit of netcode with the wall, and all of a sudden it'll go to pot. Tusting has passed Ward. Toby Ward, I think, has got a slowdown penalty. I think he's had a bit of a moment off at the chicane, and John Tusting has gone through. This is
Jay Cranston's still in the 33s as well. He's closing down massively, but John Tusting into the points. Big moment for Prost, but will that get taken away by Jake Cranston, who is on a charge? John Tusting will need to drive some absolutely monstrous laps to keep Jake at bay.
He will. Jake's first got to get past Toby Ward. We'll see how quickly he can go about that, though. Toby's going to defend this till the cows come home. Simon Price had to let him go, obviously, because he's a lap down at the moment in time. But yeah, Jake Cranston, we still get to see some good racecraft from Jake, which is nice because he's very exciting to watch in this championship. There's been a move by Pete Harrod on Kevin Zemstra, which we will come back to in a moment. Here comes Cranstone down the inside of Toby Ward. Lovely move, great respect by the two. And now he goes chasing after John Tusting, who is on the brink of getting the final or first points of the season for Prost. Can he do it? Here's the battle between Pete Harrod and Kevin Zemstra. The Jordan round the outside of the Ferrari into turn 1, locks it up into turn 2. Kevin gives him just enough room on the inside line, side by side out of turn 2. Doesn't this look fantastic here in the Formula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com? Pete backs out of it, lets Kevin go in front. It was Kevin that spun here last season and had a very big accident with his teammate Jack Styles. Luckily, both Ferraris make it through this time, but they're all absolutely glued together.
Here we go, look at them, nose to tail, ever so close as they make their way out of turn 7. And Tim Parry, he's going to be wondering what he has to do to get around all of this lot, because he looks for a move and then all of a sudden, the likes of Pete Harrod and Kevin Zemstra, they're too wide. There's no way through. The circuit isn't wide enough to accommodate all three of them. and Tim just has to bide his time and be patient. But I don't think there'll be much more patience coming through from CLS Craig Frolic, who can see Cam Dance now just up ahead. That gap 0.3 of a second as they get onto the power down the casino straight. Sam Fitzpatrick there waiting in the wing should anything go awry. But right now, CLS Craig Frolic, he's on charge, and I don't know if he's going to be lifting out.
Yeah.
Oh, just for now he is, but are we going to see a Cam Dance-esque move by Silas, leaving it until the very last lap to take it to Cam Dance?
1 lap later, and here comes Cranstone all over the back of John Tusting. It'll be a fairy tale for John if he can get points out of this race. But I think the ultimate pace of Jake Cranstone now, setting the fastest laps in this race, he's got to be the man to beat. And unfortunately for John, it's going to mean that the first points of the season for Prost, for now at least, have just suddenly slipped through his fingers, and Jake Cranstone overtakes him at the hairpin and sets off down the road. It's heartbreaking. He's got the 2 arrows next up ahead of him. There could still be drama further up though, Ed. We've got 2 laps to go after this. We've had another spin for Simon Price, and Rob Lundgren's had a bit of a drama as well. But this top 3 is still very intriguing, isn't it?
As close as it ever was. CLS Craig Frolic dropping back a touch from Cam Dance, maybe to give himself a bit more room to work with. Ooh, was that Cam Dance slightly slow? Yes, it was. You can see CLS really bringing that gap all the way down in towards the hairpin. You can tell that Cam is properly pushing, but look at this up the inside. Sam Fitzpatrick now. That was almost catching me off guard, and certainly caught Silas off guard. Left so much room up the inside that Sam was eager to take, and now are we going to see Cam Dance stick over to the right-hand side of the circuit and give his teammate that extra bit of slipstream? No, he isn't. He's being quite cheeky with it, giving them a little bit to one, a little bit to the other to keep them side by side, so they slow one another down in towards the final chicane. I think that was Craig Frolic just backing out on this occasion, deciding it's not worth the risk, and instead hoping that the 2 Williams Mechachrome cars trip over one another. Speaking of tripping over one another, the 2 Ferraris are battling around with the Jordan Mugen Hondas. Ooh, that was very twitchy on the exit. Pete Arad kept his foot in it, has kept it going, and has he got a chance around the outside as we have Rob Lundgren yet again struggling? Oh
Tim.
My word, they're going to be going 3 wide into turn 1.
Tim,
and
no.
there's contact. The Ferraris pinball themselves into the Jordan, and dear oh dear, as Kevin Zemstra got damaged. I'm not sure what happened there. He's driven straight into the wall, and Tim Perry, he's in 4th now. What's going on?
Oh, Tim's made a couple of bad calls tonight, I have to say. I'm not sure whether something got to his head last night at Road America, but flipping heck. Tim Perry makes it 3 wide into the first corner with 2 laps to go here at Montreal. And that is going to go down like a cup of cold sick, that is. Mike Murphy's had a bit of a poor lap here, and Jack Stiles has managed to get past him. And it was 4 seconds slower for Mike Murphy, and Jack Stiles suddenly finds himself in 7th place. What has gone on for Mike Murphy? Has he short-fueled it again? Mike Murphy did this at Catalunya. He's something wrong. He's short-fueled it. Mike Murphy has short-fueled it, and he did this at the last round as well. And that does mean that John Tusting is now back up into 12th place for Prost. So Prost Peugeot are on their way to get points once again, Ed.
Oh my word, what can be one person's treasure is another one's trash, and oh my word, you can just see now Sam Fitzpatrick, he lost out and now he's going to fight back, but this is giving Cam Dance all the time and space in the world he needs on the white flag lap to take home the race victory. But I think the focus is going to be on this battle for second places. Oh no, Silas Craig Frolic too hot into turn 1. He hasn't been able to hang on, and now we have another Williams 1-2, or not another Williams 1-2, but another 1-2, and this time it's Williams that will be getting maximum points from this evening and cementing their position as the top team in the Formula 1 World Championship.
Spin out, crash, vomit, I tell you. Mike Murphy has to come into the pits as well. That gives points to Arrows Yamaha. Both of their drivers going to go past Mike. 2 points for Prost potentially here, actually, if John Tusting can manage to make it past, because John's going to come flying past. Where's Mike Murphy going to be? Cranstone's going to go up into a top 10 finish here, Ed. Flipping heck. He's going to go up into the top 10. Fantastic.
Jack Stiles as well, up into 7th place from the start he had. That's great news for the Stuart Ford driver. And again, good points for them on the board. Both their cars now into the top 12 as Toby Ward's gotten ahead of Mike Murphy.
Yeah, Mike Murphy coming out of the pits now. There is Toby Ward going through, but here is the Williams duo of Cam Dance and Sam Fitzpatrick. Cam joined Fitzstein Motorsport a long time in iRacing. Sam Fitzpatrick, the first part of his surname, of course, being part of that Fitzstein name. And the two of them are certainly going to love this moment, crossing the line together. It's a 1-2 for Williams Mechachrome in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com at Montreal. Cam Dance wins his 11th race. Amazing stuff. Silas Craig-Rollick gets a podium. Still not a bad result, all considered. And it's going to be Tim Perry in 4th. Big points for Ferrari, ahead of Pete Harrod in 5th place. Next up is going to be Ben Hoffman in 6th position, under the radar for Benetton as ever. Can Jack Styles hold on to 7th though, because Stuart Clark's found 2nd win. Stuart's having a fantastic run in this season at the moment, and he's going to go to the left hand side. There's a car running out of fuel there, is there? Is that Rob Lundgren? It is. Side by side into the final chicane. They're so close together. Jack Styles blinks in and out. That's nightmare fuel on the way into the chicane. Stuart Clark goes across the front of him. Fantastic move by Stuart Clark. Lovely stuff. Great commitment. And the Arrows driver's going to get 7th place right on the line. Beautiful manoeuvre.
That was there's full commitment, and then there's Stuart Clark. That was an immense move all the way around the outside, nearly chopping the front wing off of Jack Styles as they came into the final chicane. Just hang on, John Tusting.
Yes, John.
Prost Peugeot gets 2 points on the board for Prost. Excellent drive there from John with his injury. That is a brilliant result and brings a smile to certainly mine and Chaz's face there. Thoroughly deserved. Up 8 positions from the start of this race.
Mike Murphy splutters out of fuel across the line. Rob Lundgren does as well. Gilles Gardner at his home Grand Prix finishes 2 places higher than he started. But can somebody please stop Cam Dance? His 11th race win, while nobody in the history of the championship has won more than one. He continues to impress us. He continues to amaze us. But there's some certain words going to be had after that one, Ed. There was a move down the inside by Tim Perry on more than one occasion as well on his teammate Kevin Zemstra. And ultimately, in the end, it's put Kevin out of the race. He would have had damage that gave him a meatball flag, and that's when he's obviously thrown the car at the wall in frustration. And no points going his way tonight. And on for Ben Chalcraft, Nico Minardi, Simon Price also retiring from the race. But wow, Cam Dance unstoppable here. And Jake Cranstone, sure, he only got 3 points for that, but wow, what a recovery that is, considering he had 2 pit stops to finish in 10th place outright. That is a really amazing drive. Cam Dance, though, at the very top, and he's going to get doing some donuts, which we're going to stick around for and have a look, and then we'll go over the race results for you. You can bet that he's going to try and do it where the Salut Gilles thing is as well on the start-finish line. Look, he's going to probably park the car in a lovely way, and here you go. You can expect to see those screenshots on the Fitzstein Motorsport pages later. Well done to Cam Dance. He's going to put it in the wall now, isn't he? Come on, Cam.
I thought he would have had enough practice from the amount of race wins he has to get these donuts done nicely.
There was someone on the screen at the bottom there showing him how it's done. The second in history, that is. The second 1-2 in Formula 1 history. Cam Dance and Sam Fitzpatrick for Williams Mechachrome. Great night for Sam, that as well. Started 5th on the grid. Silas Craig-Rollick brings home some points for McLaren in 3rd place, with Tim Perry in 4th. He'll be kicking himself, though, I think, after that race, how it all went. Pete Harrod will be pretty pleased to have survived that and finished in 5th place. He had a very busy one, holding on to that Jordan. Ben Hoffman finishes in 6th, ahead of Stuart Clark in 7th. Good drive by Stuart. Most places gained in the field, tied with John Tusting as well. He started 15th on the grid, did Stuart, up to 7th. That's a hell of a drive, actually. That's really under the radar. Jack Styles finishes in 8th, more points for Stuart. Tom Minot gets more points for Arrows in 9th, and Jake Cranstone, a great recovery drive, really, into 10th place. John Tusting gets the first points on the board for Prost. Very well done, John, especially after coming back only 2 weeks after surgery as well. John Tusting gets those points. Really good stuff. Toby Ward doubles his tally, gets another championship point, and just missing out was John Roberts and Mike Murphy and Gilles Gardner, while the non-finishers in that race were Rob Lundgren, Kevin Zemstra, Ben Chalcraft, Simon Price, Nico Minardi and Martin Kenyon. My word, that was a very busy one, that was, Ed, and we've got certainly some wonderful interviews to be had here. Lots of drivers to speak to. We'll get 3 of them in again this evening for a quick chat. I'll turn the music down slightly because for some reason it seems a lot louder than it normally is here. Let's just try and see who we can chat to. Tell you what, Ed, who do you want first? Do you want to take the first one away?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think let's have a quick chat with Jack Styles, shall we? Let's bring him in, the driver that has had a very up and down race from the absolute heartbreak of the opening lap to a great result. You've got to be pleased with the evening on a whole there, mate.
No, not really.
Oh, fair enough then.
It could have gone far better, but yeah, it is what it is. I hit the wall with 2 laps to go. That's why Stuart got me at the end. I bent the car. If you actually look, I came across the line crabbing, and I was crabbing for the last lap and a half. So yeah, not the best race. I was pushing like a maniac, probably a little bit too hard, and just a few too many mistakes in that one coming back through the field.
Yeah, well, it was obviously a very topsy-turvy race, but how was it after getting the car repaired and you sort of found yourself in the little bubble on your own? You were still obviously gaining positions after the pit stops, but how is it to keep your focus in a situation like that and not just let your mind wander?
I mean, I think from doing years and years of endurance races where you spend most of the race on your own, I'm kind of used to being able to push sort of just in clean air, but it's a bit like Winton. It sort of got a little bit repetitive. Your mind starts to wander a little bit, especially when you've been awake since 6 o'clock in the morning. So it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but yeah, it's just trying to do quality laps every single lap, hit the marks, hit the points. I think I might have actually lifted my rig at one point going through the last chicane because I got that much force feedback coming off a curb, which when my rig probably weighs the same as a small car, that's quite impressive. So yeah, overall my pushback through the field was good. I'm just a bit disappointed about the last 5 laps. Too many mistakes.
Fair enough, mate. Obviously, this is on a slightly different setup to what we were running around here last year. How does the car feel in comparison? Is it decidedly noticeable when you come to a circuit as dependent on the downforce as this?
Yes, it is. It's surprisingly noticeable. The car is there's a lot less front end. You're really having to work the front car. The sort of second chicane, the fast right left where I had my instant on lap 1, you're really fighting the car through there. And if you take just a little bit too much throttle on the exit, you're in the wall. So it's really tricky. I don't get along with the car as well on medium downforce around some of these circuits. I struggle to find the grip that the likes of Cam and Tim, etc. can. So I'm maybe not where I wanted to be this year and where I was last year. But either way, turn up every week and have fun. Try to.
Yeah, well, speaking of turn up every week, next week we are going to Magny-Cours, which is a circuit that the Boremula 1 World Championship has not been to before for the French Bourg Prix. Is that one that you're going to be excited to drive the little ProMaster around?
Yeah, it should be fun. I've driven it for about 45 minutes in a GT3 car when it first came out and never touched the circuit again. So I'm quite interested to see how it is in a downforce car. So yeah, it should be good fun. Let's see. Hopefully a better race next time.
Yeah, hopefully more fun than your evening was here tonight. But credit to you for sticking with it and getting some good points on the board for Stuart Ford, mate. Before we let you get off and have a well-earned rest, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out on the broadcast, bud?
Yeah, so obviously Cam, Sam, Kevin and Silas, they make this series a good laugh, and everyone at Orbit Motorsport, all our sponsors, Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC. So yeah, shout out to them.
Excellent stuff, mate. Well, all the very best, mate, and we'll see you next week at the French Bourg Prix.
Thank you.
Well, there we go.
With that, we say goodbye to Jack Stiles. And Chaz, you can say hello to who you would like to bring in next for a quick interview. Yeah,
Silas Crag Frolic. Silas, a very, very interesting race amongst the Ferraris and the Williams at the front of that one. And then, unfortunately, that last little moment just pushing right at the end to try and get it off Sam. It was a great race for you, though, regardless of how it ended up. That was awesome fun by the look of it.
It was very good fun. I mean, the annoying thing was I was setting it all up to pass him like on white flag and be leading on white flag, because I knew, as Jack said, it takes like 1 lap to set up the pass. So if I could get Cam like with 1 lap to go, I was like, he's not going to be able to pass me if I really set in a good lap. But then Sam just came and tried to pass me into the chicane, and yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it, so it was a good one from him. And then trying to overtake him again and spinning. I mean, I don't really know what happened. I mean, usually I know what happened, but the only thing I could see on the replay was a little bump. I mean, I hate using that as an excuse, but I didn't do anything weird.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But overall, with the amount of practice and all that, I mean, P3 is not too bad.
Well, that's it. I mean, at these early stages, we all know it's about championship points and trying to make sure that you're not on the back foot at any stage of the season, and obviously a tough night for your teammate as well. So, still flying the flag for McLaren up there, mate. It's not easy, this, is it?
No, it's either him or it's either me, and the other one's all the way down. Yeah, I mean, last week I don't even want to talk about it.
No, of course.
That was, yeah. I mean, on to the next one. I need to get another win. I don't want another repeat of season 1. I need to beat Cam.
Don't we all, flipping heck? I'll tell you what, it's going to be it's going to be a very exciting one as well, because we go to Manicura, a circuit we've not raced at before, so it's a brand new one for everybody here. Do you think that's going to level the playing field a bit, or do you think it's going to be a similar sort of pace for the people who have got it and people that are a bit further down?
I think it's going to be. I mean, I want to say it's going to shuffle the field, but in the end, it's usually like the top 6 is about the same, to be fair. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be the same again for that round. But I've never driven on Magny-Cours, so I don't know how it is with these cars and the slipstream. So I'm looking forward to it.
Us too. I think some of the crests and some of the dips and rises are going to be very interesting. There's a lot of long, smooth corners as well. So when you're changing down the gears, the car could snap at any point. So I think it's going to be a tough one. Maybe not as attritional as this race, but certainly a challenge. Is there anyone you'd... Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying yes. I was just confirming what to say.
Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go, Silas?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the people I'm always driving with. Cam, Jack, Kevin, and Sam. I mean, we're always in the group together. It's a shame we're also racing against each other, because it's a bit of a double-edged sword. And other than that, I want to thank you two for doing the commentating and running the league. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Silas. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you as always, mate. Well done on the podium, and we'll see you in France.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers. Silas Cragg-Roll it there. Lovely bloke. But I know that, unfortunately for his sake, if any of the Alcantech guys see that last lap, none of them are going to let him live it down, bless him. We need to maybe not make as much of a habit of speaking to this man, but to be honest, I think what I'm going to do is drag him and his teammate in here so we can have a word with both of them at the same time. We'll start with second place finisher Sam Fitzpatrick, though. Sam, you must be over the moon with that, mate. A really, really solid result for you, your championship, and for the team as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have to apologise, Chaz, because I was about to just go off on one about how, I wasn't jacked in second after Silas, despite finishing second. And I was absolutely livid, if I'm honest. But I'm over it now, because then you literally dragged me in as well, so you saved yourself.
I certainly have.
Thanks for joining me up, and it was a fun race. Nice to be part of the Conga once again. And Cam drove really well. I mean, I think everyone drove really well, particularly Cam and Silas, and it was a very, very fun and tense final few laps.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing. I mean, when you're driving along, do you know that there's always going to be this sort of eruption at the end where the drivers all sort of start going at one another and forget about fuel, forget about how the tyres feel? You all just throw it at each other?
Yeah, I think I was very conscious, like back at Interlagos, I left it, I was just happy sitting at the back, and then got 3 laps to the end, and it was like, oh, actually, I sort of need to be further up the train here, so I was a bit more aggressive, hence my couple of cents on Silas. But I mean, the problem is, like, second and third are always going to fight with one another, so you really need to be like in the lead. I think that's the place to be with the couple of laps to go. And Cam playing on pole position did that absolutely perfectly, as he often does, and that was a large reason why he won.
Well, it was certainly a solid race for you, Sam. Very quickly before you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Thanks once again to Cam and Jack and Silas and everyone else as part of the Discords to make the races a lot more fun. And of course, thanks to you guys for putting on the very good broadcast, very good event, and yes, much appreciated.
Thanks very much, Sam. We will see you at the French Ball Prix next time out. Cheers, mate.
Nice one. See you then.
And we've got him in the box with us already. Why don't we, Ed, if you would kindly do the honours to now 11-time race winner in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, Cam Dance.
Yeah, Chaz, throughout the season is probably sick and tired of talking to you after the amount of wins you've won. So you've got me, Cam, but you've been doing a great job all season long in both season 1 and season 2, and that's yet another victory to add to your tally. It was a interesting one where you've had to deal with the Ferraris and also for a period of time your teammate who looked to be closing on you, but you got it across the line in the end and looked to be quite comfortable in the very late stages for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was comfortable in the later stages, to be honest. I was sort of panicking that Silas was going to end up getting me at the end. But no, that was a really, really awesome race. Like, to be honest, we just did what we had to do, as we normally do. We fuel saved a little bit. We drove as hard as we could, and in the end, we got P1, maximum points as well because of the pole. And yeah, really, really stoked to get a 1-2 for the Williams.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, the first ever 1-2 was done earlier on in this season in Interlagos, but it's great for Williams to get maximum points on account of you getting the extra point for the pole position lap time, and again for the 1-2. So it's been a very good evening for yourself, but also Williams Mecca. But how important is it for the championship to get these results when one of your main rivals has had quite a poor evening?
Oh, it's massively important. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the deal breaker between winning and losing, but it's one of those things where if you can't consistently get the results, you're going to end up struggling later on in the season because you can't recover that sort of points deficit with the fact that it's just been so close, and the fact that you're constantly finishing in those realms of 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 points at most between your rival and everybody else. So yeah, it's really, really good to end up making a little bit of a buffer for ourselves in the championship fight at the moment, after Jake not having that great of a night. But yeah, we take it as it is, and at the end of the day, yeah, got to finish first if you want to finish.
Yeah.
Finish to finish first, that's the one.
I think we got it right in the end, yeah. But obviously we're a few rounds into the championship now. It's starting to take shape in terms of the standings and the drivers you're looking to be battling with, but also in terms of adapting to the setup, obviously onto the medium downforce this time rather than the high that was last season. With a few races under your belt in this car, how does it feel? How has it been able to suit, or maybe you've had to adapt to overcome it?
But actually not been too bad, to be honest, at Interlagos and Barcelona, and then also Canada, to be honest. It's actually been quite nice. Like, there's been enough downforce that you can sort of make the car stick, but then obviously there's a lack of it to the point where you can still have to work to drive the car, so it actually makes it quite good for racing, as you have to look after your tyres a little bit more. You can't really throw the car around as hard. You still got to be a little bit more finesse. But Winton, we'll just put that one in the bin. We won't talk about that one.
Maybe not. I mean, you say like it was a bad time. You still got some very good points, mate. I think you finished second.
Yeah, that's true.
At Winton. So I don't know why you're saying like it was. I know you did win at Winton as well, so I don't know. I'm not sure why you're saying it was difficult there. So who knows? But obviously you've been on a great charge of things, and coming to Magny Court in a week's time before the mid-season break. Got any hopes of extending your advantage even further, or is that a track that you might not have as much confidence in?
Oh, looking up. Hopefully I can extend the advantage again, but yeah, I might have to do some laps there because I haven't done a particularly large amount of laps around many course. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting because of the fact that it's a bit of a mix between Winton and also flowing sort of Interlagos. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll hopefully end up back on P1.
No worries. Thank you very much. We'll obviously say goodbye to you after you've shouted out whoever you wish to shout out on the broadcast.
Yeah, obviously shout out to Jack, Sam, Kevin and Silas for all the banter in Discord as we always normally do, and obviously shout out to all the boys for the awesome racing, you guys for the awesome broadcast, and all the boys at Orbit Motorsport and our partners.
No worries. Cheers, fella. And with that concludes, I think, all of the interviews for tonight. And what a way to round it out with Cam Dent's race winner, and also the only driver to actually enjoy the medium downforce. So I think you've only made the fastest driver in the championship even faster, Chaz. Well done.
Yes, I have unfortunately made a bit of an error there, because now no one's going to be able to catch them, are they? But still, what a great night of racing once again. A lot of drama, a bunch of incidents, and a lot of attrition here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It certainly seems like this is a circuit that is a real thorn in everybody's sides. And after a week last week where Cam Dance became the first driver in Formula 1 history to get double digits in terms of race wins, he's then gone and added one more to the tally before anybody else can even get a second. Thanks very much for joining us, everybody, here on Chaz Chaz Draycott Media in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, also sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. Thank you to the drivers for putting on one hell of a spectacle, to everybody in the YouTube, Twitch and Facebook chat for cracking on and making the most of it as well. We really do appreciate you coming along to watch. And of course, my fantastic colleague Ed May in the commentary box. Really looking forward to the next few months and weeks that we've got, where we will be doing back-to-back broadcasts now from the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge Season 3, then heading into Boremula 1 on Wednesday nights as well. But for now, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evenings, and we will see you in a week's time at Manicourt. Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Gilles down the inside. Gilles moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and a drift to show off.
Ben Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.